Hi, it's Kristen. It's roughly the middle of the year, so let's have a look at my reading. I'm going to do the mid-year book freakout tag. I've been seeing a lot of people doing this recently. I know it's been a thing for years. I will tag the original creator if I can find them in the description, and I'll put the questions as well. I have the questions over here, so if you see me looking this way, I'm reading the questions. So the first question is the best book I've read so far this year, and that would probably be The Black Flamingo by Dean Atter. I read this one quite recently. I really enjoyed it. It's about a young boy who comes to terms with his sexuality and his sexuality expression and gender expression. He's a poet and he becomes a drag queen and a performance artist, and it's all told in verse and spans like several years of his life. And I just thought it was really beautiful and I would highly recommend it. Next up is the best sequel I've read this year. I've not really read many sequels. The only one I could think of that I did really enjoy was Volume 4 of Heartstopper, the graphic novels, which is about a young queer couple, Nick and Charlie. Very cute, does deal with like deeper topics of like mental health and eating disorders and things like that, but it's just about their relationship and their friendship group, and it's so sweet. Yeah, I really liked the previous volumes and I really liked this one. Next up, we have a new release that I haven't read yet but want to, and that would be Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This came out earlier this year. I've seen so many people read it. I read Beach Read by Emily Henry last year and I really enjoyed it. And I've heard, really good things about this one. Seen a lot of people reading it recently. This one is about a literary agent and a book editor, and I think they have quite a tense, maybe like rivalry, but inevitably they will end up together. I've heard this one isn't as romance heavy as it's maybe been pitched as, and it's also to do with like other relationships between different characters, but that it sounds like something I'd be into as well, so I'm looking forward to getting to this one. Next up, the question is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I had a look around and I was struggling to find things, but then I came across, I have it written down, Stoneblind, Medusa's Story, by Natalie Haynes. So this is a Greek mythology retelling of Medusa, and yeah, her side of the story. I think Medusa's obviously the antagonist in a lot of media and in myth and legend, but this is a story from her perspective. I love Greek myth retellings. I love retellings of stories from perspectives of female characters that we don't normally get. And when I heard about it, I just thought that sounded so interesting and definitely like something I would read. Next up, we have Biggest Disappointment, which makes me sad. This was the first book I read this year, I think, and that was Never Seduce a Scot by Maya Banks. This sounded like it could be a perfect romance for me, a perfect historical romance. This is about a woman named Evelyn who, after an accident, is now deaf, or very, very hard of hearing, and she is part of a historic clan, and she gets put into an arranged marriage with the leader of another clan. They're sort of warring clans, but they think this marriage will bring them together, and she's very hesitant. She doesn't want to do it, but then she finds that when she meets her new husband. She finds that his voice is so deep that she can actually sort of hear the low rumblings of vibration from his voice, which makes her very intrigued. And yeah, it's just them being forced into this arranged marriage, but then finding that actually they have a lot of attraction for each other, and he feels very protective of her, and she's very interested in him, and they end up finding that this marriage works for both of them. And I thought, I love historical romance. I love Scottish settings. I love books that have disability representation, and I'm a sucker for an arranged marriage to lovers trope. But it didn't do it for me. I had such high, maybe it was because my hopes were too high. There was just something about, I don't know if it was the writing or just the way certain scenes were executed. I don't know. I don't know. It just didn't work. It didn't work for me. It was a 3-star, so like I got through it quickly. It was still fairly enjoyable, but I thought that it could be a 5-star and it wasn't. So that was a shame. Next up we have Biggest Surprise, and for me that would probably be Felix Ever After by Kaysen Callender. This was a surprise to me, not because I thought I would dislike it, but because I've not had much luck in the past couple of years with loving young adult contemporary. I think it's just an age thing. As I get older, I find it harder to relate to teenage characters, or I sort of have gone past that stage where I was young and I was rooting for the teenage characters and being like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, to now that I'm an adult, I sort of look at these teenagers and I'm like, oh my goodness, please stay at home, don't do anything reckless. But this one I really enjoyed. I think the setting really helped. This one is about a trans boy named Felix, and he gets harassed with lots of transphobic messages from an anonymous account, and so it's him and his friend trying to work out who's sending these messages, who's doing this, and there's a little bit of romance along the way. Yeah, I really liked this, and in sort of the through plot as well is that Felix is at this art school, and he has to come up with a final, like, end of term, end of summer project, which he struggles with throughout. But I really loved the art school setting. I liked the dynamics between the friendship groups. The romance I wasn't sold on, but I did still enjoy a lot of the conversations about sexuality and gender that happened within this. So yeah, I really liked this one, and I was surprised I liked it as much as I did. I thought I would like it, but I was surprised I liked it as much. Next up is favourite new author, or like new to me author, and that would probably be Dean Atta, who wrote The Black Flamingo. This is the only Dean Atta I've read. I would like to read more of their work, but I just thought this was written so beautifully that I'm definitely intrigued to read more from them, and wouldn't hesitate to pick up anything else. There's other authors that I like some of their stuff, but I'm not sure about picking up other stuff from them. But Dean Atta, if I saw a book by them, yeah, it's like an auto buy for the next story. Next up we have newest fictional crush. I don't have one, so I can't answer this. Honestly, it tends to be, I think, romance books that I feel inclined towards characters in that way, or like a good romance subplot in another book. But I haven't just haven't felt that recently in any of the books I've read, which is fine. Next up we have newest favourite character. Again, I don't know. There's no one character that's really stuck out to me in a big way that I've read recently. That's not to say I've not read good books. I have. I've read plenty of books I've enjoyed this year, but there's not like one character that's really stuck with me. Hopefully by the end of the year I'll read something that has a character that really speaks to me, but as of yet this year I've had stories that speak to me and characters that I really like, but none that I would say is like a new favourite. Yeah. Next up we have a book that made you cry. I cry very easily at like anything, but I couldn't really think of a book that made me cry a lot this year. There was one last year that made me sob, but nothing this year. I think I'm gonna go with The Silence of the Girls by Pat Barker. I feel like this is the kind of book that I would have cried at. Not like a lot, but I feel like I can see myself having shed like a tear or two. This is about the Trojan War, but it's told from the perspective of the women, Briseis in particular, who is taken by Achilles. So it's, sort of narrated from her point of view and her goings on in the camp. Very harrowing. The women were not treated well. They did not have a good time. And there was like no moment of levity in here, so a lot of it was just very intense. The writing was really beautiful, so I feel like, I may have shed a tear or two at this. Again, Greek myth retelling. Next up we have a book that made me happy, and for that I'm going to say Me, My Dad and the End of the Rainbow by Benjamin Dean. This is about a young boy called Archie, and his parents split up and he finds out that his dad is gay. So it's him and his friends going on a little adventure to Pride celebration, and getting into hijinks and issues here and there, but it's about discovery and acceptance and family and love, and it's just very sweet. It's middle grade, and I just thought it was really happy, sweet, cute, fun. Would recommend. Next up we have a favourite review or video I've done. I haven't really done many videos this year. Beginning of this year was quite tough in terms of getting on track with things for me. I recently did a Pride reading vlog, where I read a lot of queer books, and I really enjoyed that, and I hope my enthusiasm comes across in the video, so I really like doing that one. And then at the very beginning of the year I posted a video that I made at the end of last year. I read one book in it, so it's not very like reading heavy, but it was when I was travelling to my best friend's wedding, and so it's like parts of the wedding weekend I stayed in a hotel. I took books with me about travelling, sort of to have a vague theme. I really liked that vlog, and I think it's interesting because I'm not just in my house as usual. So I like the videos I put out so far this year. There's only like 3. Next up we've got the most beautiful book I've bought or been gifted so far this year. For bought, I would say Ariadne. This book, like the shade of blue is beautiful, and then this gold like leaf is stunning. It's so pretty. I'm obsessed. This is the story of Ariadne, another Greek myth retelling. It's just beautiful, honestly. Next up we have one that my friend gifted me. I couldn't pick between that book and this one as the most beautiful, but this is The Witch's Heart. This is a Norse mythology retelling, It's about, I think, the wife of Loki, who's a witch. Yes. But yeah, I just think it's beautiful. These like swirls that also have animals in them. It's such an intricate cover. Really like it. Really like it. They have similar color schemes. Like this is sort of a brighter, shinier version of this. I feel like we've got the blues and the sort of gold, yellow. Yeah, really think those are beautiful. Next up, we have books I need to read by the end of the year. For me, in the coming month, I would like to read It Happened One Summer, The Unhoneymooners, and You and Me on Vacation. These are all the summery romances I have on my shelves. Yeah, I essentially just want to get to them because this one I've had since last year, I think, and then these two are recent purchases. But if I don't read them in August, I feel like a summery romance needs to be read when it's nice and like sunny or warm outside. So if I don't read them in August, it's gonna be like another year until I read them, and I would like to get to them. So I want to read these in like August, beginning of September. And then another one I really want to get to is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. This one I've had, I think, for a year now. I meant to read it last sort of autumn time, and then I never got round to it. But I'm very excited to get to this. It's, I think, an enemies to lovers fantasy, high fantasy novel. Arranged marriage. Yeah. All those things. We're ticking my boxes there. And this is another one that I think could be a favourite, hopefully. So I really want to get to this one. Again, I sort of feel like if I don't get to it this year, it's going to be one of those ones that I keep pushing back, so I need to just read it. Yes. And lastly, we have favourite book to movie or TV adaptation I've seen this year. One I would say would be Heartstopper, the Netflix series they made of Heartstopper, based on mostly the first graphic novel, but they're doing more series of it, which I'm very excited for. I just thought it was so cute, so sweet. The young actors in it are all really great. I think they really bring the graphic novel characters to life. Just really amazing young talent, and it was really well written, stuck really close to the graphic novel while also feeling like fresh. And I just think having young queer representation is so important. I feel like that's not it's not a surprise to say loads of people have watched Heartstopper and loved it. And I'm one of them. And then also, I'm going to do a sort of modern adaptation. I watched Fire Island, which is a modern queer retelling of Pride and Prejudice, which, if you're familiar with Pride and Prejudice, the story beats and the characters and who the characters are supposed to be modern representations of are so clear. And I thought it was such a good adaptation whilst being modern and changing the setting and everything. So you fully still get the story of like Elizabeth and Darcy, and the Bennets and Wickham and the Bingleys. Like they're all still there, but obviously switched up, more modern. It's an almost entirely gay male cast. Margaret Cho is in it as a sort of Mrs. Bennet, Mr. Bennet hybrid, but then all the Bennets are gay men who've gone on holiday together to Fire Island, and there they meet sort of the richer, more kind of stuck up gay men who are Darcy and the equivalent of Caroline Bingley, and then we have Mr. Bingley, who's just this really sweet guy. So we get the romances between the Darcy Elizabeth equivalents and like Jane Bingley equivalents, but it's all queer and gay and great. I feel like if you're just looking for sort of a gay rom-com, it's great. But if you also want to like see the narrative storytelling of Pride and Prejudice, it's also brilliant. They have a big party that's obviously the like equivalent of the Netherfield Ball, and there's a sort of drag show dance off moment, which is supposed to be when like Darcy is showing a softer side of himself. There's the equivalent of like the Wickham storyline but updated. It's brilliant. You can tell all the narrative beats of the story of Pride and Prejudice, but it's updated and gay and just fantastic. It is a little risque, so it's not for younger viewers. It's like swearing and talk of sex and some depiction of nothing like too heavy, but depiction of sex and sexual acts and things. So yeah, not for a younger viewer, but fantastic. Just so good, so good. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I feel like it's one that I'm gonna go back to every time I want a little bit of Jane Austen, but something maybe more modern and a bit more like explicitly fun. I love Jane Austen, and I'm always excited when new adaptations come out, and really happy when they're good. So yes, Fire Island is brilliant. And that is the last question, I believe. I may have missed some out, I hope not. But yeah, that is it from me for this video. And let me know below your answers to these questions. I think that would be fun. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!